Hello, this is Riding with Ree. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. I'm sharing my experience of having bought my first horse as an adult in Surrey, UK. So if it sounds like that's up your street, then don't forget to hit subscribe. Today is the second in my morning routine series. The first was following the morning routine of Charlotte Dujardin. So if you haven't watched that, you can do so above. And today I've picked the morning routine of Laura Collett, British eventer and gold-winning medalist at Tokyo 2020. Not only will I be showing you Laura's morning routine, but I'll also be showing you Woody's new dressage bridle, courtesy of Naylors. I thought Laura would be a great person to choose because not only is she at the top of her game, having just won a gold medal in Tokyo, but she's also overcome several challenges in her riding career, including getting a bunch of online hate for one of her horses, but also losing her sight in her right eye after a riding accident and coming back stronger than ever. Let's get straight into it. So Laura's day traditionally starts in the tack room at 7:30, where she has her breakfast, which works great for me because I actually need to prep my new bridle. But before we get into that, let's go and say good morning to Woody, shall we? Hello, good morning. He just did the biggest stretch and I didn't catch it on the camera. Hi, puppets. Hello. Are you sleepy? Hi. Oh, I could stay here all day. This is why I never get anything done, isn't it, Woodward? Right, you have a snooze. He should be back. Honestly, he's so cute. So as I said, Laura's day starts in the tack room, 7:30. So she has breakfast on the yard, which works for me because I typically don't have breakfast at home on a day when I'm riding because I just wouldn't get up early enough. And I don't have a proper breakfast with me today. What I do have is a cup of tea and, can you see it, my protein shake, which I think counts. So, this new bridle, let me show you. I actually need to change the bit over. So I've got my old bridle here, which has the bit on it, and I just need to change it onto the new one. So firstly, I have to say a massive thank you to Naylors for gifting me this stunning bridle. This is the Shires Velociti Dressage Flash bridle in black, and it's part of the Shires Velociti range, which you can buy at Naylors. The whole idea of the Shires Velociti range is to combine sleek design with anatomic features to make the horses as comfortable as possible without compromising on stunning style. Now, you might have heard of anatomical bridles. They've become particularly popular, especially in the last year, and they're often characterized by having cutaway pieces and head pieces that are shaped slightly differently. The whole idea of anatomical bridles is to relieve pressure on the horse's facial nerves. So what Shires Velociti have done with their range is to take some of those features and put them into what is, in this case, a pretty traditional bridle shape. So we have a cavesson noseband, a flash, pretty traditional bridle, but with some of those added anatomical features which are going to make it super comfortable for the horse. So firstly, we have a Freedom Fit headpiece and a padded noseband, and this is just going to help to relieve pressure across the nose and the face for the horse. We also have a added pole gap and a cutaway earpiece at the top here, which is really great if you have a horse who is particularly sensitive around their ears or poll. You'll see here we have a drop noseband. This has become particularly popular with dressage riders, so it kind of sits a little bit lower. This, for me, looks absolutely fantastic when the horses are plaited up. So I'm really, really excited to try this at a dressage competition. We actually have 2 coming up. We've booked 2 for October. It's mid-September when I'm filming this, so this will definitely be the bridle that we're using there. And of course, down here, we have the added flash. I always think it's really nice to have a flash that you can take off, because for me, I don't always need one, but it's really handy to have. So I love the fact that there's some flexibility there. Finally, I want to show you the reins because there is a really stunning feature on them that I can't wait to give you a look at. So you might see on some reins that they have raised rubber bumps, which are going to help you to grip on a little bit more with your gloves. And what the team at Velociti have done is actually to print the word Velocity in the raised bumps. I think it's absolutely stunning, and it's such a lovely little feature. I think if this is equipment that you're using every day, it's really lovely to have those thoughtful little details. And you can see that all the way through the stitching and the design on the stitching and just the way that the bridle is put together. Now this range is super affordable. The bridles come in at around £70, and like I said, they have styles like this with the Cabesson noseband. There's a grackle, there's a couple more that have more anatomical shapes around the cheekbones, but all of them are designed to have this super sleek design with the anatomic features. So I've got my tea here and I'm about to put my bit onto my new bridle, but I also wanted to mention how I've actually been caring for this new bridle. So obviously the bridle has a little bit stiffer leather than normal, and that is completely normal when you get a brand new bridle for it to feel a little bit stiffer. So what I've actually been doing is using Carr Day Martin Belvoir Tack conditioner to condition my bridle. So for about 3 days I've been putting coats of this on just to help the leather loosen up and feel a little bit more supple. And this is a really great system that's actually part of a 2-step system for tack cleaning. So step 1 is obviously the cleaner, which you would use after watering your saddle, and then step 2 is the conditioner that I just mentioned. I am trying to get into the habit of cleaning my tack every single day because I tend to clean it at the weekend, which is not a good idea. Just giving it a quick wipe every day is much better. So I'm going to show you my actual tack cleaning process after my ride today. Let's put this bit on and then let's get riding. So here's my bit off my old bridle. I'm also putting my neck strap on. Laura Collett actually never rides without a neck strap, and neither does William Foxpit. I've actually read in interviews that Laura has even put neck straps on when she's warming up for dressage and then has them taken off. So it makes me feel better about having one on my bridle no matter what. So I'll add this bit on here, making sure that the bit is the right way around. So this curve obviously goes into his mouth and it wants to fit at the front of the bridle. I've actually already fitted this bridle to Woody's face yesterday as well, so I know that it fits him and I don't have to worry about fiddling around with the bit today. Having put the Carr Day Martin leather conditioner on this bridle for the past few days just makes it so much easier to do things like this, because the leather just has that little bit more flexibility. And obviously the more you use your bridle, the more flexible it will get. And then with the reins, we want to make sure that the velocity is facing upwards and that we have a nice straight line to the bit. Now, if you have one of these buckles, they sit to the inside. If you have buckles like this, which I have on my old bridle, they sit to the outside. So these buckles that I have here almost disappear into the leather, so they're super neat and tidy, and they're not going to get caught on anything. Okay, I'm going to finish my tea and then let's groom and tack up. Are you awake? Are you ready? My little brush. My little brush. He must have done this as a foal because he's always sitting on my shoulder like this, isn't he? Hey? You're very cute. Right, there we are. Don't know why I insist on putting this on with one hand. It never works. Come on then, Wood. So because it's Monday morning and we are being realistic about how much time we have, it's also a day after Woody had a proper, really nice groom yesterday. So he's just going to have a quick flick, and then there's one extra thing that Laura does as part of her grooming routine, which I will show you at the end. He's feeling really... Okay. Are you excited? No. Good boy. So the last thing that Laura does before her horses go out is actually add hoof oil. I've actually picked up the wrong one, this is Neat's foot. But yes, hoof oil onto their hooves. So whether this is a hangover from her showing days or whether she just likes them to look really smart and give the hooves a hardener, I'm not sure, but that's what we'll be doing today. So something that I read about Laura is that she often warms up bareback on younger horses, something she's done previously with Yogi Breisner. And it's something that my vet recommended to me as well occasionally. Obviously I'm not doing it today, but it can help you feel a little bit more secure in your seat and make sure that you're sitting up straight. But one thing that my coach and I have been talking about in our last couple of lessons is finding that perfect warm-up, finding a warm-up that you can use at home and that you can then take to your competitions and feel comfortable and know exactly what you're doing and the space that you're using. And this was a really interesting concept to me. So I've been working with her on finding that perfect warm-up. So as you can see here, when I first get on Woody, I'm just walking around on a fairly long rein, just getting a feel for him, and in my head I'm going through the German scales of training. So let's see if I can remember them all. Straightness, collection, rhythm, impulsion. That's not in order, but I'll put them up on the screen for you. And that's all that I'm thinking about, making sure that he's in front of the leg, making sure that we are in sync and I feel comfortable, but not asking too much in terms of collection at this point. Sometimes when I'm warming up, I'll also take my feet out of my stirrups. I do this to help stretch my hip flexors, which I know can get really tight, help me feel more connected, more balanced, and make my leg feel really long. I'll also occasionally do some different transitions, so halt to walk, walk to halt, just to check that he's listening and going off my leg. I'll then progress up to adding trots, and again at this point I'm not asking too much for a contact. I will have shortened my reins a little bit, but that's not the goal. Woody will quite often ask for contact. He quite likes having you down on the end of the rein, so he will often put himself in a frame, but all I'm really checking for is straightness and impulsion in particular. And I will quite often ride a diamond shape across the school because this really helps me to see if we are independently straight off the track and not just leaning on the track, making sure that we're even on both sides. So this is a favourite exercise of mine, and I'll do this on both reins and then have a little canter, and then we'll move on to the exercises for the day. And I have to say, I'm absolutely loving the reins on this bridle. My old bridle doesn't have these rubber marks on the reins, and I can quite often give my contact away. I can ride a little bit too light in my hand. So I find that these reins are actually really helping me to get a contact with Woody, which he really likes. So I was struggling a little bit with Woody feeling a little bit wooden in the left canter, and I felt a bit wooden, so I had a little canter where I stood up out of my stirrups, took the pressure off, didn't ask him to come into a frame, just to open him up really and open his back up and make him feel a bit looser. And I have to say, I think it did help. There's no scientific reason behind this, but it works for me. So we had a little walk break, and then it was on to the first exercise that I wanted to do today, which was practicing centre lines. So this is something that we can quite easily get wrong, and if we don't turn properly and give enough preparation for our turn, we can end up bouncing from left to right down the centre line. So I really wanted to practice this on both reins, and he got it really quickly, and as soon as he got it on both reins, I moved on to the next exercise. And always making sure that we give little walk breaks in between with a little opportunity to stretch down so he's not in a frame for the whole session, which I imagine is not only difficult but also uncomfortable. So once we'd warmed up with the centre lines, we then moved on to an exercise you may remember from my previous barn vlog. This is coming off in a shallow loop and changing the bend, and I was really pleased with how quickly he remembered this exercise. He was really on excellent form this day. So again, little walk break, and then we did it on the other rein, and again he got it really quickly. He was really a pleasure to ride, and I felt very comfortable with him in the new bridle. I think he liked it too. I wish I could hear them talk sometimes, but knowing that he has that relief from pressure along his facial nerves is a really good feeling for me. And we ended up only having to do about 25 minutes of work, which is ideal when you only have a little bit of time in the morning. You go in with a goal. I wanted to do centre lines, and if we did centre lines I wanted to do shallow loops, and then I finished. And I know that Laura Collett also keeps her young horses sessions between 20 and 25 minutes as well, so super efficient and in keeping with Laura Collett herself. That was a really great session with Woody. Don't have a lot of time now, so I'm going to untack, make sure he's comfortable, and then it's tack cleaning. Woody's all untacked. I couldn't do that with one hand, so I just did it off camera. So I'm just brushing off where the saddle goes. It's not super sweaty, but I will just run it over where his girth went with a wet cloth. And then he's done for the day, so I shall leave him be. Good boy. And clean my tack. Now, if I were Laura, I would be continuing to ride my horses all morning, but of course I only have Woody, who is worth like 10 horses to me. So as I mentioned before, I'm tack cleaning, and I'm trying to do it every day, just give it a quick wipe. So firstly I'm going over everything with my water cloth, and then I will follow up with the Carr Day Martin Belvoir step 1 and step 2 method. And don't quote me on that pronunciation, Belvoir, but that's what I've always called it. So when I'm tack cleaning, I'm always taking particular care of the inside of the noseband, because that's where a lot of grease gets stuck, and also the inside of the brow band. And I tend to take my tack apart on the weekend, so any spots that I haven't got, by just giving it a quick wipe now, like under the buckles, they usually all get cleaned properly on the weekend, so nothing gets missed for any period of time. And it can be helpful if you have one of these hooks to put them on separate hooks so that you can work on them a little bit easier. I love these reins so much. And then my neck strap, which does get quite dirty because it's right against his skin, especially if he gets sweaty. Do the same with my saddle. My girth is in leather, so I can't give that a wipe. And again, on the weekends I would take my stirrup irons apart so that they get cleaned as well. Step 1 is the actual cleaner, and this is going to help get dirt off the bridle. So a few sprays, straight on. I also love the smell of tack cleaner. It reminds me of like a childhood of working at riding schools and hunt yards. And I used to have a boss who was really strict on tack cleaning and would always make me redo stuff if he didn't think I'd done a good enough job. And I have to say, I'm very picky about my tack cleaner because I've read horror stories from saddlers about what using the wrong one can do. And I've always trusted Carr Day and Martin. So when Naylors gifted me these tack cleaning products as well, I was delighted because they're one of the few brands that I would actually use. And this 2-step process is brilliant actually because it really helps to lift the grime, any grime that's left on there. And then you just condition the tack and you can tell the difference, and it leaves a lovely shine without being greasy, which I personally hate. And that's actually something I've read online with saddlers as well, is that they will charge extra if the saddle comes in for repair and has a greasy layer on it because they can't work with the leather in that way. So when you have a tack cleaner like this, it is worth spending the money on so you don't get that really greasy layer on top of your tack. And plus it just sort of adds to the grime, in my opinion anyway. And I've mentioned, I think before, this saddle is actually borrowed from lovely Tara, who owns Bourbon, who I did the Kissing Spine interview with. So you sort of feel even more responsible for really looking after it. This is a sort of temporary saddle whilst I wait for my saddler to be able to get me a new general purpose GP, because this is a slightly better fit for both me and him and helps me have a straighter position. So that was step 1 here, and this was step 2. I'm so grateful for Naylors having gifted me these, because honestly, new tack is great, but if you're not looking after it, it's useless. So this is the leather conditioner, which is going to, as I said, feed the leather, make it nice and supple, and also give it a really beautiful shine. Not just for show days, We want our tack to be shiny and clean all the time. So as I said, when I'm buffing my tack for a show, I always pay particular attention to the nose band and brow band because it sits so prominently. Oh, I just love it. There's so many padded sections to this bridle. It really is a beautiful piece. And it's lovely knowing your horse is going to be really comfortable as well. So there we are, super shiny, super supple, just looks great. I'm proud to hang that in my tack room. Look at that shine, lovely. So I'll take this now and hang it all together. If I had a martingale, I would put it all through the throat latch, but I don't, so I'm just gonna hang it together like this. Look at that shine. And it's not greasy, like I said. And it's a hard compromise. Because you always think if you're not going to get a greasy tack cleaner that you won't get the shine. And this just proves that that's not the case. There we are. It looks great, it's clean, it's fed, it's ready to go next time. So I'll grab my saddle cover, give it a quick shake in case any dust got left overnight. This is just a really cheap one that I bought second hand. But I'd always remember having it. I recommend having a cover to keep the dust off the saddle. And I always store my girth separately on top because this girth will have a brush next time I ride, but you can see the sort of the dust that comes off it, so I always store it on top so it doesn't affect the saddle, and then this can go away. So that's it. If I were Laura in this scenario, I would be riding until lunchtime, riding my young horses, riding my older horses, and then I would be having lunch in the tack room whilst doing work emails and catching up on admin. As for me, I'm all finished now. My tack is clean, my bridle is away. I'm gonna head off to start my work day. Thank you again for watching, and thank you so much for Naylors for gifting me my new bridle, my tack cleaning gear, and of course my Naylors swag. If you want to check out the Shires Velociti range, I've put a link in the description with my exact bridle as well as a link to the range on Naylors. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.